Hello, I'm Danusia Malina-Derben, host of Parents Who Think. In this episode, I'm joined by Zoe Blaskey, mother, coach, and the creator and author of Motherkind. Zoe speaks the truth so many are afraid to admit. It's easy to forget ourselves in the noise of family life. That's also why I called my book Noise. Together we talk about building a relationship with ourselves that doesn't disappear when the children come, the guilt we carry for needing space, and the radical power of checking in every day. If you've ever felt like you were slowly disappearing under the weight of everyone else's needs, this one is for you. Welcome to the podcast, Zoe.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, isn't kindness really difficult for some of us?
It depends. I think a lot of us find it easier to be kinder to others.
Oh, yes.
I agree. Particularly as parents, I think we find it really easy to tune in to our children's needs and how they're feeling. And yet, if you ask the kind of typical, stressed out, tired mum how she feels and what she needs, you're likely to be met with a confused look and then perhaps some tears in recognition that we so infrequently ask ourselves those really powerful questions.
How do you stay connected to your needs?
Well, I ask myself a lot. I talk about this a lot. The relationship that we have with ourselves is the most important in our lives. We're not taught that. Society doesn't really model that for us, but that is a truth. Because when we lose connection with ourselves, I don't know if you know what it feels like. I know what it feels like. And it's really hard to live from that place because then you start to feel really guilty. You start to be living on someone else's timeline. Decisions become really hard when you're disconnected from yourself because it's really hard to access that truth within you. So that relationship with ourselves is so important. And yet what I notice time and time again is how little we invest in it. It's like any relationship. If we just ignored our friends and their feelings and their needs, we wouldn't be friends very long. And it's the same with our partners and the same with our children. We're so great often at investing in those relationships. Well, the relationship with ourselves is just the same. We have to invest in it. And I think that is something that often we don't know. We're not taught. No one taught me that growing up. So the way that I kind of invest in that relationship myself is just like any relationship. I make time for myself. And I think so often, particularly as busy mothers and parents, we can put ourselves at the bottom of the list really easily because there's always something else to be doing and someone else to be prioritizing. But when we do that, everything in our life is harder. So, for me, I kind of spend 10 minutes every morning just checking in with myself. How am I feeling? Where's my body at? Where's my mind at? What's going on for me? Is there anything I need to process? And I do that a few times throughout the day. And then every evening I have a really nice practice where, I have a journal by my bed and instead of kind of scrolling, I don't have my phone in my room and I just jot down what's on my mind. And that's a way of just investing in my relationship with myself. Because if we ignore these things, they don't go away. They come out sideways, I like to say. It might mean that you have an extra glass of wine that you don't want to have because you're trying to numb that discomfort. Maybe you scream at your kids a bit more than you want to, or you're snappy with your partner. And actually, all those things are just the symptom of something going on, but you're not kind of connected to it. You're not processing it.
I'm wondering what you do with your journal. I'm thinking very practically.
Yeah.
Do you keep that journal out somewhere?
Everyone is different. The important thing here is not necessarily the how. Trust yourself that you'll figure that out, in what's right for you, but it's doing it. For me, and I do know the research on this, which is why I do put pen to paper because it accesses a different part of your brain. And there was a study recently that showed that just journaling could reduce symptoms of PTSD, which is a really serious mental health condition, can reduce those symptoms by 40%, just journaling, just by processing with ourselves with a pen and paper. So imagine what it can do for, us kind of stressed out, busy mums. It's incredibly powerful. So the kind of gold standard is, yes, pen to paper in a journal. You are going to experience benefits within a few days. But if that doesn't work for you, or if actually you're writing in that and you're realizing that you're censoring yourself for fear of someone reading it, then clearly that's not the right reading for you. My journal has my deepest, darkest thoughts, feelings, and it's open on my bedside table. Not open, but it's there on my bedside table. I mean, God, my husband is not interested, to be honest. Yeah, and if he was, I'm not sure it would make so much sense. I'm not sure it would.
I think what you're saying is so right in the fact that we have to find the mode, the medium that's right for us, don't we? The most important thing is that we create that space for a connection with ourselves and a relationship with ourselves.
We have this tendency, to want for quick fixes. I'm constantly asked, by journalists, like 5 tips, 5 this, quick fix this. It's because we've lost touch with how to figure out what's right with us. So I'm not going to tell anyone what to do. I always say, don't kind of believe what I say, try it out and see what works. It may be that you thought you'd hate journaling and actually you love it, or you thought you'd love it and you hate it, or, who knows what every person's experience will be. But it is important that we make time for that relationship. It really is.
It is. And we never know, as you say, what's going to access which part of ourselves till we actually experiment with it. So that's why it's so good to at least try it, isn't it? How have you done this, finding space for yourself in lockdown?
So I often joke, like I was kind of meditating for an hour a day, going to yoga classes, having loads of therapy. I'm in recovery, so I was going to loads of group, support meetings, and it was all very luxurious. And then children came along and I didn't have time for any of that. So I've had to find ways. So, for me, my 10 minutes in the morning, I've just built into a schedule. So we have a set schedule in the morning, and it means that I get to nip upstairs and it's my getting dressed time. But I basically don't put makeup on or brush my hair. Instead, I use those 10 minutes and I've shoved some clothes on, normally leggings, just to sit with myself. I find that adds more value to my life than putting mascara on. That's how I do it. There's an incredible study recently that showed like 60 seconds of just being present, i.e. meditating, but you could call it just being present. Doing that pretty consistently can actually start to rewire your brain and has all the benefits of meditation, which we know are incredible. Calmer, more resilient, less stressed, more able to respond to life, not react. So I think it's not about, like in a Venn diagram, it's not about trying to find time for me and then time for the family. Like, I think that doesn't necessarily work, particularly if you've got a job as well and you've got young kids. It's kind of like, how can I find those pockets? You don't need a lot of time. Like, how can I find those pockets just to check in with how I'm doing? Like, yes, an hour-long yoga class is amazing, but that's kind of, if you're relying on that in order to connect with yourself, that's going to be tricky, because if you get to that once a week, that would be really good going. Well, it is for me in my life. So I think it's about trying to find those kind of moments just to integrate connecting with ourselves throughout our day. It's far more achievable. It's got to be these little ways that we get to stay connected to ourselves, because isn't it easy? Like, gosh, you've got 10 children, isn't it? It's easy to get lost. So easy to get lost in everyone else's needs. And when we do that, particularly over time, the years add up, the days add up, and the weeks add up, and suddenly it's years, and you feel lost to yourself. I see it time and time again, illness, exhaustion, breakdowns, even burnout. So it's taking that intention, which is, even though my life is really busy, and even though I have all these people around me who are reliant on me to meet their needs, I can still meet mine too. I can still not get lost in this.
Well, one of the things I love about the word responsibility is that it's an ability to respond.
Exactly.
And what you're talking about is, because we have so many responsibilities, on our shoulders, that we do need to learn to have that ability to respond. And I like to think of them as daily kind of sacred micro practices,
Yeah.
And whether that's from, in my life, I've taught myself to nap literally anywhere. I can just literally say to my family, and I do, I'm taking a nap here right now. I can lay down and take a nap. and it'll be about 7 minutes, maybe 9. I'm up. I'm so refreshed. And then the other one that I find, certainly as children move into preschool, school age, I found that teaching them that mummy needs her breaks, that human beings need breaks. It's not that mummies need them. We all need to have a little bit of time on our own. So I say, you know what? I think I need to go have 5 minutes in my room. So don't discuss what I'm doing. I just, make sure everyone's safe, and then I go. And they know that that's the sacred space for mummy to be where I am.
Yeah. And it's so important to do that, because children learn through modeling. Because what you're really modeling is self-worth. What they're learning and absorbing is, I'm worth looking after too. So they are learning about what it looks like to have self-worth and to respond to their own needs.
I'm wondering about your mother. Are you close to your mum?
Yes. We've always been really close. She is and was a fantastic mother. Both my parents were incredible parents. They loved us. This isn't about a lack of love. It's about, both of them had really unresolved traumas that they didn't have the opportunity. They hadn't gone to therapy. They hadn't worked on any of those. So they were doing the absolute best with what they had.
Yeah.
It's just that what they had was kind of dysfunctional. But obviously I didn't realize that until I started to unpack it all. And I was really lucky because our family imploded in quite a dramatic way when I was 22. And I say lucky because that I had really no choice but to go and get some help, which, was the best thing that ever happened to me, because I learned about all the ways that I had adapted my behaviors and all the thinking that I had about the world that just wasn't helpful and was actually causing me loads of pain. I got a chance to look at and unpack all of those so that I could live a totally different life. And then now that I'm a mum and a parent, I get to model a totally different way, which is, to me, there's no bigger thing in life actually than to be on this path of not repeating the dysfunction and the pain that was, for generations. My main job is my own healing and, trying my absolute best to stay in the light, and to notice what's coming up for me from the past and not running and numbing, which is what was taught to me, but actually trying to do it a different way, which is feeling it, processing it, being kind to myself.
What an incredible gift that implosion was that enabled you to do that unpacking, and therefore enables you now, as the result of a lot of work, and I obviously can hear that, actually to break that lineage, that generational lineage that you could continue.
So yeah, gosh, I often say, it's so true that the most challenging things that happen in life, I believe are gifts. I didn't know it at the time. And at the time, if someone would have said that to me, I definitely would have punched them. But, with space and time, I can now see how it was absolutely the best thing that ever could have happened to me. But the only way that we kind of get there is by doing the inner work. We only get that if we take the time to reflect on what we've learned. We only get that wisdom by processing it.
Absolutely. It doesn't just arrive on a plate. It just doesn't, it's not an injection overnight. We actually have to be active in terms of investing in ourselves. So yeah, it's a beautiful conversation. I really love hearing your amazing transparency actually about why this is the most central job in your life. And, your kindness to yourself will lead to everything, won't it? Of course it will. And it's a gorgeous message. It's exactly what we all need. Thank you so much for this.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's been a joy to connect.
Zoe reminds us that meeting our own needs isn't a luxury. It's the foundation. She's not here to sell 5-step fixes. She's here to show what happens when you choose to stay in relationship with yourself, even when it's messy, inconvenient, or slow. So, if today's conversation made you think about how you show up for yourself, that's so good. Let it land. Let it shift something. Until next time, keep thinking, keep questioning, And as ever, be kind to yourself.